Hi, this is Enthusiastic Steve and welcome back to my video channel. Today I want to talk to you and give you some top tips on how to install mobile radio. So for those of you that operate at home but struggle with noise, interference, maybe don't have a lot of space, unable to put up a decent antenna outside, then going mobile if you've got a vehicle could be a good option for you. I'm going to cover the topics, as in I'm going to be looking at types of radio you can install and how to go about that installation, making sure it's safe and secure, even if it's a permanent installation or one you need to remove every time you leave your vehicle. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at how we're going to power that radio as well. The radio needs to be powered somehow. It could be affixed into your car battery or other means. So we'll take a look at that. We're going to look at the transmission lines, or the cables you require to link the radio to A, the antenna, and B, to the actual maybe a separate head unit throughout the car. So we'll be looking at the wiring and cabling, and then finally we'll be looking at antennas, types of antenna we can use on our mobile vehicle, how we're going to secure those, how we're going to attach them, be it through a proper mount, a drill hole or a mag mount, etc. So we'll come up with, give you some solutions or possible solutions to achieving your dream or idea of getting out mobile. So shortly I'll be taking you out to the car and I will go through in quick time how to do this installation and the things you need to consider. Now it doesn't matter if it's a similar radio to this one. This is a ICOM radio, HF, UHF, VHF radio. Thing with this one is it's got two inputs on the back, so maybe I need to consider two different antennas. So we'll think about that and talk about options as available to us. So you might be wanting to install an HF radio for your ham or amateur radio use, or you might be just wanting to install a CB 11 meter radio similar to this, or a multi-bander or an export mode one to go out mobile, hilltop, down to the seafront, etc. It's becoming very popular again in the UK as we record this video. I mean, we have local nets here in the south of England with up to 50 operators on CB every week, and some of those users are, or most of those users are, amateur radio operators as well, and they like to go back to what they used to use in the younger days. It's not as like it was in the 80s. CB has become much more, well, we're more adults now, the people using it, majority. You still get the odd fall on there, but basically some of these nets are very good for testing antennas and microphones and radios, etc. So if you're installing a CB radio 11 meter, or if you're installing a amateur radio such as this or other radio, the principles we're going to be going over and talking to you about are identical. So in this video I'm going to show you the install of an ICOM amateur radio, and just to show you the components required, I've just gathered them all together. That's enough indoors now. It's a lovely sunny day today for a change. Let's go outside to the vehicle and see what we can do. So here's the car, my M6 Whiskey Victor mobile. Old car now, needs a bit of a clean, as you can see. Let's open up the boot. Let's have a look inside. So nice little tailgate there. I've put some tools in there already. Got a removable top there, and inside here you'll see a big Union Jack box. Now I have run radios, and I do run radios from the car already, but this is a new install. So what this is a leisure battery, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm now going to be looking to situate the radio somewhere in the car, and the ICOM radio I got has a separate head unit, so I'm looking to mount the radio here on top of this box so I can easily access it, to plug in cables, disconnect it, and easy to remove from the car once finished. And then I'm going to actually mount the head unit up there on the dashboard. So the radio I've decided to install is a ICOM 706. Quite an old radio now, HF, VHF, UHF radio. As I say, this same install could apply to a CB 11 meter radio as well out there, but this one's got a separation kit, separation head. So there's the head unit, and now somehow I need to attach this head unit safely somewhere where I can actually reach it within the vehicle, and it's actually secure. Now, fortunately for the 706, you can actually buy a separation kit, which comprises of a cable and a couple of little brackets as well. So I've managed to obtain one of them. Now, they weren't easy to get hold of, and they're not the cheapest things out there, because unfortunately ICOM use their own specialist cable with its own different connections. A lot of separation kits come with like a Cat 5 cable, which is very cheap. As my older Linko I used to have in my van, it was just a matter of pounds. This one was a little bit more expensive, but I've got a couple of little brackets, and I've had to modify them to actually attach them to the car. So this is the separation kit, or part of it. This is the little bracket that fits to the back of the head unit. Metal construction, it slides onto the back and slides off very easily. In the center you've got a threaded hole. Now this threaded hole fits nicely onto like a tripod mount or a mobile phone mount, etc. You can spend quite a bit of money on some of these mounts, but what I've decided to do is opt for this option. For those of you who might have seen some of my other videos, you might have seen me with my box of Wonder. It's a bit like a metal construction kit, like a Meccano or other brand, but this is an unbranded system. Just little metal brackets, bolts, and it's a kid's toy really, but the brackets and nuts and bolts you can manipulate into nice little units like this. Attach them to the metal plate, which then allow me to quite nicely attach it to the CD player. So to show you that working, here's the metal bracket. Here's the actual radio back itself. It pushes down a little spring clip. It just attaches like so. Then you just put it into the CD slot. Voila. And there we go. A nicely solid, secure mount. Cheap and simple. So other than attaching the cable to that now, that's the head unit sorted. So let's go and look at the main unit. So this is a sturdy main bracket that comes as a part of the kit for securing the main body of the radio. It is very sturdy indeed. Please take heed of the warning sign there. M4 bolts, maximum of 8mm deep. Use any more at your own peril, because you'll damage the actual internal components and possibly cause a short circuit. So please make sure when you're using bolts to secure this unit, you use the right length. There's the actual head unit itself. I'm going to mount it somehow around this way, and I'm going to mount it on the top of the box just for ease and convenience. But I'm also going to mount it onto some rubber matting and also make a sandwich of some foam, and this will act as like a resonant shock absorber, a resonant mount. So first thing to do to aid the process, I'm going to remove this back shelf unit, this roller. Now gives me greater access and ease to the actual back compartment here. And what we're going to do now is mark out, not used those holes for something in the past. I'm going to mark out some new holes on here, make some drill through, probably soft enough to use a sharp object to get through there. Actually it's about 4mm thick, and then we'll put the bracket in place and then attach the actual head unit. So I've done a few trials and worked out the best way for the radio to sit is this way round. Brackets there. I'm just got to now remove the bits and cut the holes and use these screws to attach the bracket to the top of the lid. To help in reducing any vibration to the actual radio, I'm making up this little resonant mount, which is like a rubber anti-non-slip mat, a little bit of foam, making a sandwich basically. I'm going to roll that up and fold it up. I'll do it a little bit neater in a minute. I've got two hands free. Wrap that up like so. That will then sit under where the bracket is going, and the bracket will secure through there. Okay, that will be been squashed down, and it will give us a very nice anti-vibration pad protecting the radio. So there you go, that's the mount in place. I've put a few extra screws in just to give it a little bit extra support. Piece of rubber underneath with the foam acts as a lovely little resonant mount, so to avoid any vibration to the radio. Moving ahead 5 minutes and it's all in place, really secure, with a little bit of nice little soft movement there to take any vibration. So securely in place. I use a few extra screws to mount it to the base so it's not going to move. Squash down the actual mounting. Absolutely lovely. So just a quick recap there. We've located the radio nice and securely in the rear of the car on a resonant mount. It's going to be able to be removed very quickly, so I can take it indoors when not in use. Refix it in about less than 5 minutes. Climate, humidity, etc. Again, it's an enclosed area. It's going to have a cover over the top, so it's going to keep the direct sunlight off it. So, and if I take it in at night in the winter time, then it's not going to be too affected by any dampness or condensation. I can always make a little cover actually to go over it, a little insulated cover, so that would also protect it. So things to bear in mind if you're going to put one in permanently. So let's consider for one moment how we're going to power this battery. Now fortunately in my car, as I've already run radios, I've already installed in this lovely sturdy box here. Lift the lid up, you'll see, look, that inside there is a leisure battery. Now this old leisure battery here is 115 amp hours, gives well, lots of power over a period of months. You don't need to recharge it. You can connect this up to the car to recharge, but I'm running it totally independently. It's inside a sturdy box which is secured down by straps to the car. In event of an accident, the battery is not going to be moving around loosely. Any accidents with lead or acid, the acid inside the battery is going to be absorbed by the sponge fill-in, which holds it all in place. Again, stops vibration and damage to the battery itself, and also acts as a thermal layer controlling the temperature of the battery, so maintaining a good average. Now you can actually connect a radio up to the cigarette lighter socket in most cars, but don't forget they only put out about 10 amps. So again, if you're running QRP or low power, that's probably not a problem, and you will get a good supply. Trouble is, a lot of those you need to have the ignition circuit of the vehicle on as well, which would put a strain on the coils and the battery. And I don't like running directly from a car battery, because you never know, if your battery's a bit low in the first place, you can end up going to go home and find out your vehicle doesn't start. So it's best, I think, to always run from an independent battery. Plus, if you can run cables straight to your car battery. A lot of car batteries are in the front of the cars, go through firewalls, etc., in the bulkheads, and that makes it very difficult to actually run cabling through a vehicle. So this is my preferred method. The power cord for this one is the ICOM cable. Comes with the actual radio itself. It's a fairly thick cable, which you really need to have. What I've done is I've fitted my own plug on the end. You think, what the hell is this? What's this 3-pin plug doing here? Yes, there are smaller plugs you can use, but I like these 3-pin plugs because you cannot get the polarity mixed up, even though I've marked it up red for positive one side and it just left it black on the other. The centre pin is not used. It's purely positive and negative, but it's shaped in such a manner you cannot any chance put the plug in the wrong way round. I used to run 2-pin plugs, and there was always the occasion, even though they were marked, you picked the things up to plug them in and you inadvertently turned them as you plugged them in, and causing a short circuit and blowing a fuse. This way you have no problems. And I've also, all my internal power supplies and radios all have these plugs on them, so it's all interchangeable. I can take this radio out of the car, take it indoors, and within minutes plug the aerial in, plug the cable in, and run it indoors. And likewise out here. So all I need now is the female version of this, which I'm going to connect to the car battery. And this is the little fly lead extension I've made with the female plug on it, with a cable, and I'll connect this up to the battery shortly, and then I'll leave this out and we can just plug it straight in and out as and when required. So that's the cables all nicely secured to the battery. Just doing a quick voltage check, 12.7 volts, very nice. If you don't want to run a large leisure battery, the other option of course is to run a portable battery like this golf buggy battery, or the lightweight LiPo batteries, but just be careful with the charging. And again, you could go one step further and connect solar panels and have it continuously charging. But I've not actually gone down that route, so I'm more than happy once every 3 months just run out a lead to the car or take the battery in and charge it up for a few hours. On to the next stage, where we're now going to run the data cable from the main radio body all the way through to the front of the car for the actual head unit. This is a specialist ICOM cable. Unfortunately, they are getting a little bit rarer to find, but they are still out there. second-hand ones. This is a second-hand one I fortunately bought from a local, a really nice amateur radio user nearby, but they're not the cheapest of things. So let's get ahead and see where we can put this cable. So I've gone into the rear of the car and attached it to the back of the main unit. Then I put the cables down through and under the rear seats, down under some carpets, and through wherever I can to actually hide the cabling. Now, one word of warning, safety first, everybody. I actually put my arm under the seat into a very small area. I got my arm stuck, and on trying to withdraw it, it decided to slice a large lump of skin out of my arm. So just be careful. Eventually though, I got the front connector to where I needed it and ready to plug into the actual head unit. Next, we need to consider really the type of antennas we're going to use. Normally on a vehicle we use a quarter wave or a 3/4 wave or 5/8 wave antennas. Here's just some examples of these. On the left there's a 10, 11, 12 meter base loaded, coil loaded antenna. The second one moving to the right is a VHF UHF antenna. There's a good old-fashioned ham stick or Ampro, and then you move on to a telescopic antenna. And one advantage of using a resonant antenna for the particular band you're using is you do not need a tuner. Now this telescopic antenna I'll show you here, this can extend to over 17 feet. It works up to a quarter wave on 20 meters. Very versatile. You just have to mark it with some tape and adjust it for whatever band you need to use. The next thing you need to consider is how you're going to safely secure this antenna to your roof. One, from a security perspective, so it's not going to fall off. And two, you need to make sure it gets a good ground plane or good grounding to the vehicle. The best way, like we used to in the old days, was to actually drill a hole in the bodywork and secure it with the correct connection. But of course today people don't like drilling holes, so we come up with and use mag mounts or other type of clamping devices. Whatever it is you've got that suits your vehicle. Whatever you end up using, just make sure, like you say, it is safe and secure. I don't tend to use mine whilst driving. I tend to use my antennas when I'm actually parked up, maybe at the seafront or on a hilltop. Maybe consider using things like tie wraps or zip ties to actually secure any coax, and maybe like the mag mount to the roof bars so they're not going to come off. Because of the coax ones are fairly short, you don't really need to use any extravagant low loss cable. Just make sure it's flexible, because it is going to be bending a little bit, going through tight gaps. You're going to try and push it up out the way, maybe into the actual rubber seals. So as long as it's thin and flexible, it will work. For this install, I actually fitted a second mag mount. So now I've got one for HF and one for VHF UHF, because I've got two connectors on the back of the radio. So here is an HF antenna, my VHF/UHF antenna on the roof. The UHF-VHF antenna is over 19 inches apart and causes no interference with the other antenna. Oh, I'll also better mention as well, before I put the mag mounts onto the roof of the car, I did do some continuity checking to make sure they were still working, because they would have been sat in my shed for a while. I checked the inner and the outer on the braids just to make sure there was no short circuits. So, almost there. There's the head unit on the dashboard with the actual cable now connected on the rear. It's powered up. The radio in the rear is all plugged in. The speaker at the moment is in the boot, but I will be running an external speaker. Yeah, there's some people talking on 2 meters at the moment. So I've got 2 meter capability, and let me have a quick twiddle. Right, twiddling commenced. Now I've got back out of into memory mode. I've got some programmed in here at the moment, but we'll come out down to VHF, UHF. We're down onto the HF bands. I'll come down to 20 meters. Not sure if there's much activity at the moment. Now I'll twiddle around again and come back. Oh, there we go. So we are getting some stations through after a bit of twiddling. So all I've got to do now is a little bit of fettling, as in tidying up some of the cables, put the extra external speaker in, and that task will be about done. Though the sound was perfectly adequate coming from the actual rear of the car, from the actual main unit of the radio, I did look into actually putting in an external speaker. Here we've got an old BHI speaker, one of the early noise cancelling ones, and a very old comms speaker from the 70s. But after testing some of these in the car itself to see how acoustically it sounded, I opted for this Marconi communication speaker from the early 80s. Small and compact, it fits snugly into a little centre compartment. Well, hopefully that's inspired you to give it a go. Try and set up a radio for mobile use in your own cars. So from me, Enthusiastic Steve, a big massive thank you, especially to all those who've subscribed to my channel. For those who keep revisiting and watching the videos, thank you very much indeed. From Enthusiastic Steve here on the South Coast.